Hey, this is John Bolger with Premier Guitar, getting freaky with the new Fractal FX3. So Fractal came out, I think, in 2006. So they've had 12 years of tweaking on this thing. And believe me, these guys, they tweak heavily. Right now, this is reportedly the most advanced modeler, amp modulation, modeler, simulator, effects, whatever you want to call it, ever made. They've doubled their computer power, all this. I'll get into it all after I've been out recording it. Right now, this is just my telly running straight into this thing. There's an input in the front, which is convenient. There's also an input in the back as well. In fact, there's like 4 different inputs. But if you're out your front, if you're using that as your default, it cancels out the ones in back. But we're running the one in front, and then we're running just an XLR out into an Apogee Quartet and into Pro Tools. And we're sending you just one signal. We have, of course, you can run stereo, and there's multiple outs. There's all these options. But for you people listening on the interwebs, this is basically what it's going to be condensed to anyway. You're getting just a solid, cool mono signal. So that's it, plugging straight in and blowing and going. On the floor, just for monitoring, I have a little Yamaha S10 monitor that's blowing the sound up at me so I can hear it. But you could run this into an amp, you could run this into a PA front of house if you're touring with it. You could, I think the best application for me, although there are a ton of people using these live, to me, it's really would be a great recording tool because you have all these crazy imaginative presets, things that, if you're on a session and creatively bankrupt and don't know what to play, man, you could just spin through this as I did right here randomly, and you're going to find something inspiring. So I want to tell you a little bit about the nuts and bolts. So let's start with power. What makes this as they claim, the most powerful processor ever, it starts with 2 1 gigahertz processors. That is, these processors are the most powerful DSP available, delivering over twice the performance of the earlier Axe-2. And the Axe-2 wasn't sluggish, but this with double that power is just giving you everything you could imagine. On top of that, for instance, speaker cabs simulation, they have 2,200 plus speaker cabs. I have no idea why you'd want that many, but if you want that many, if you want options, they're there. I think the thing about stuff like that is when I'm given options like that, I tend to just scroll through forever and I think, well, did I like that one better or did I like number 176 better? Anyway, that's your problem, but it gives you all these options. Of course, the effects are amazing and they're limitless. Amps, there are tons of amps, and again, you can just scroll through these forever. However, what I like the presets. I like the fact that without editing anything, and maybe I'm atypical. I think most Fractal people are tweaking people. I think there's a lot of different direct gear right now. I don't have to name all the companies, but there's some that are really made for plug and play. They're made for, you've got some simple knobs, you can adjust them basically like an amplifier. And then there's Fractal that gives you, it's really made almost with an engineer mentality in mind, where you can just tweak as you go. However, what I disliked about the earlier Fractals is that tiny screen, whereas you can see this one gives you a nice big screen. And on top of that, there's some tweakability right here. For instance, hit that knob right there, get this big lush tuner, and I'm out of tune, as I normally am. But right there, with the touch of a button, you see a big usable tuner right there. Hit it again, it's off. However, even when it's off, you can see it up top. You know what, actually, I'm in a detuning setting. Let me get it on anything but that. So you can see right up there, even when you don't have the tuner engaged, there's still a little tuner right there, keeping you apprised if you're in. So that's great. Right here, flip of a switch, amps. I mean, and as I said, there's so many. And you can just scroll through them at will and choose whatever you want. It's like, oh, I want an AC30. Well, okay. There you are. You're starting with their preset, and with the flip of a very, not even a switch, just one of these knobs right here. Push it and you've got it. Go back to home and you're there. Right here, push that and you get your layout. It's letting you see everything in line, from your amps to your cabs, EQ, delay, whatever. And you can tweak as you go. So for you tweakers, this has got it. I mean, but for the plug and play types like myself, this with very little brain power, you can actually just get into it and find some very usable settings. Whereas the earlier Fractal I felt very intimidating. It was just, that tiny screen, and it was hard to just dial in a basic tone. Again, the presets were great, but if you're going to tweaking it, it took a little more brain power than I'm willing to put out, or perhaps capable of putting out. So the front screen here literally has 30 times the resolution of the earlier one. I mean, it's a huge improvement. And the front panel is pretty intuitive. Okay, home channel just gets you to home. Let's edit, storing. These are kind of intuitive controls. Over here, tempo, which I love that. Get this. Okay, say we're even right here, you can dial in, in your different outputs, dial in a metronome to kind of sync to. I mean, isn't that great? I love that you've got just easy features like that you don't have to like scroll through or bring a computer in. Now, granted, you can plug it into your laptop and dial in whatever you want. But for the more primitive amongst us, like myself and I'm sure many of you, great to have it all here. So the back panel gives you all kinds of options for output. You've got XLRs or 1/4 inches. This allows you to send stereo to the front of house, send stereo to monitors, send a 1/4 inch to an amp, send it to other inline devices. There's also outputs 3 and 4 of the XLRs have something called a pair of hum busters, which apparently takes care of any hum issues. There's, at the flip of a switch, you can change, you can put in a ground lift. There's a lot of options. And I think their idea was no matter what glitch you might encounter, Fractal wanted to give you a technical way to solve that problem. And they really do it. There's also, you can put in expression pedals to change your effects. I mean, it's really got everything, and it is incredibly easy compared to what they were running before. Granted, there's a learning curve, but on the other hand, you can just plug into this thing and dial up some cool sounds, which I think we should do right now because I gave you the basics. Let's just hear this thing. Okay. For instance, anybody like Hendrix? I do. Let's go up to old number 106. Here we go. Come on, man. Cool. Let's scroll through. Here's another artist type sound. Okay, 123. Andy's Message. I got a feeling this is the Police. pretty close, you know. I'd have to A-B it, but cool that it's there. Anyway, they took the time to dial in very specific tones, copying things from records, which is great. But what I really like is just the true weirdo stuff. Let me show you some of those that are my favorite. So check out this. This one's called Valentine's Massacre. Right? Change the tempo. I don't know, that might get you fired. It might make you the hero of the session. It's hard to say. So it does the weirdo tone really well. I mean, they're amazing. Like, it kind of reminds me of, I don't know, cool. But they also do things like just conventional guitars. I mean, that's a good, just straight ahead amp sound. Okay, so I've covered the weirdos. Let me hand it over to Perry, who's going to give you some heavy stuff.
Hey guys, what's up? This is Perry with Premier Guitar. I'm going to take over on this unit real quick to do some of the high gain amps for you. There's no shortage of high gain amps. This thing totally lends itself towards the heavy player. So let's just go through a couple of these really quick, and I'll show you some of my favorites. So we're going to start with the 800 because that is kind of like the basis for a lot of high gain amps. That was like kind of the deal back in the day. So check this out. It's kind of dark sounding, a little dark sounding to me in the room. But of course, you know, if you just go into, let's see, layout, here is pretty much everything in this chain. And you can go through and tweak every bit of this individually, which is crazy cool. For now, I'm gonna exit out of that. Go back to the 800. All right, let's check out the next one, which will be, let's see here. USA 2C, I'm guessing that's a Mesa Boogie Mark II or something like that. But you can see within this patch, there are some options. So let's get a tone going here. Maybe a little reverb on that one. I kind of like it, but that sounds brutal. Let's try that. I like it. Cool, so the Mark II does that thing for sure. It sounds pretty close to me. Let's hop over to a more modern metal sound. I'm gonna go to the 5153. And these are all stock sounds. The 5153 has these 3 channels, like, you know, the clean, a little bit of crunch, and a lead tone. I'm gonna hop right down to that lead tone because I think it sounds sick AF. And I've had kind of every manner of 5150, the block, 5152, the 6505. I've always been a huge fan of that amp. A lot of metal dudes are, you know, use that amp, and I think this is a pretty faithful recreation. Let's check it out. Sounds pretty damn good, man. I'm a huge fan. Let's hop over to an angle. Let's see here. The angle, severe, based on an angle head, obviously. They have some pretty clever workarounds for names here. Let me scoot down to channel 2, because that's what I'm a fan of here. Man, I'm also a fan of that. You could literally, for me, it's kind of a crazy tool, because it's like when I was a kid, my friends and I would sit around and look at the Sweetwater catalog and like build these dream rigs in our head. And this allows you to absolutely do that, which is crazy. Let's check out a couple of more. Fractal actually included some of their own amps in here. So like anything that you see that'll say FAS, that's, I'm guessing, Fractal Audio Systems. This is like a modern metal sound. And as you can tell, it definitely has that. Pretty damn good. All right, let's hop over now. Like, there are hundreds of presets in this thing. So if you notice, I can change the preset with this wheel, but there are hundreds. So sometimes it can be tricky to get through. So if you, let's see, if you use these page buttons, I can change the page up here. So if I just go to presets, now I can scoot through here by either rolling, or I can navigate this way, which is really, really handy. Let's see, I'm looking for number 64. So let's see. Boom. Then enter. And there I am. 6162, which I think is, you know, obviously after 5150 was sold or whatever, this is the, you know, the PV version. Let's take a listen. Not bad. That sounds pretty good. I mean, it sounds really, really close to a 5150 now. If there's not enough gain in there for you, you can always go in there and dial it up. You could add a drive block. There's a million things you can do. Outside of that, you could change cabs, which I've noticed makes a huge difference. The sonic possibilities are kind of limitless, but let's go over to page over now, back to presets. Hop down to 70. Hit enter, and now we're on Dizzy 4HV, which I have to believe that's probably based on a diesel. My favorite channel is obviously 4. I've spent hours and hours annoying the shit out of people at Guitar Center playing this exact amp, so let's take a listen. It sounds pretty close. Recorded, I wonder, I'd like to A/B it just to see if I don't have a diesel amp handy. I got this thing right here sitting next to me though. Let's go now to a little, they've got a preset in here called, what's this thing called? Gentle Manly, and I'm guessing this is like some sort of a gent sounds. Now, a lot of times gent guys will cut back on a lot of the bass. It sounds a little thinner in the bass department than a lot of modern metal sounds because you're down tuning and playing 7 and 8 string guitars. So let's see. That sounds pretty freaking awesome. That's also a Fractal designed amp of some sort. If you ever want to know what's going on inside of these presets, you can always click Layout, and it'll show you exactly what's in the chain. This obviously has, you know, an input, a drive stage, a gate, which kind of makes sense if you're playing some real chuggy metal sort of stuff. You know, a little bit of reverb, and that's it. Now, let's exit out of that, and I have created a preset just because I was curious about how to build a rig. Let me go to Page Over, Presets. Let's go check out. This might be quicker. Okay, enter. All right, let's hear this real quick. Pretty good sounding high gain amp. And how I created this, whoops, go back here. If we go into the layout, you can see here's my chain here. And if you are curious about any of these things, we can use these cursors to navigate. Now amp is highlighted, so I'm gonna enter, and then I'm gonna go to edit. And here is a list of all the amps included. So right now, I'm playing the Fractal Audio 6160, which is, I mean, there are literally like, I don't know, I haven't counted them all, but probably almost like 10 different 5150s. We've got the block glitter, there's all kinds of them in here. But let me scroll through these amps so you can hear the difference. Euro Uber, I'm guessing that's like an Uber shawl. Say I want to stick with this V4, enter. Boom. And now I'm V4. I'm also pretty impressed with how it cleans up. I mean, it's a modeling amp, but you know, if you roll down the volume a little tiny bit, it kind of reacts like a real amp. Now you see in this block that I've created, it's easy to change the amp, it's easy to change the cab and all that fun stuff. I, just for fun, threw in a reverb and a delay. Say you're gonna do some sort of like cool lead. Well, right now they're bypassed, so you're not hearing them. But if you use your cursors here to select them, they'll kind of be like dim. But if you hit bypass, it turns on, in this case, the reverb. Let's also add a little delay in there just to see what that does. Boom. Now we've got delay. And like I said, you know, the pickup selection and the volume and tone seem to make quite a bit of difference, just like a real amp would. Hear it trail off there, but it's just that easy to add reverb, delay, any effect you could possibly have, and really make your leads kind of jump out and stand out. Yeah, so let me go ahead and bypass the reverb and delay and get back to, okay, cool. Now right here there's a VU meter, if you can see that. Currently, it's pushing, but if I wanted to change the level of this entire block, right here, block level will allow me to do that. So, here I am back, the volume kind of up, matching the other amp. Yeah, you get the idea. I mean, pretty much you can create like whatever you'd like. Kind of a mind-blowing piece of gear. I'm really, really stoked on this thing. I've had the 2 for a while. The 3 seems to be a lot more user-friendly. I love the big layout. There's a couple other weird little differences once you dive in that you'll notice. For example, I don't have to have my input dedicated to here and my output dedicated here. I can just build it as long as they are cabled together. If you notice these little bars between here, that means that this rig is cabled together. In XFX 2, you would hold enter, but this actually gives you an option to do it other ways. There seem to be a lot more workarounds with XFX 3 that I'm really, really digging. All right, so those are the basics. Obviously there are, there's hundreds of videos on this thing online, many of them over an hour because it's very, very complex. But if you have the time and you got the money, I absolutely suggest. I know there's a lot of amp purists out there, but you'll never own every amp. You know what I mean? And at least this allows you the opportunity to record with some pretty convincing tones. I'm sold. I think it's awesome. Anyway, stay tuned for more review demos, lessons, rig rundowns, riff rundowns. If you haven't seen those, you should definitely check those out. We'll see you real soon.
Don't forget to sign up for PG Perks, your all-access pass to exclusive gear giveaways and discounts on PremierGuitar.com.